fishes. Today I'm asking for 167 for a 24.8% stake in my brand new horn design. John Horn. Now you might be wondering, how is John Horn made? Well, first, fishes, we acquire brass instruments and we just melt it down. We melt it down into some brass sheets. Then we spin it around on a horn-shaped mandrel, basically just metal spinning, and we turn it into the horn shape. And we add the handle, polish it up, and sell it for way more money than it's worth, and basically just scam people. Now you might be wondering, what does it sound like?
This is what it sounds like.
But how did I get the horn to be like this? Well, first I had to do a bunch of research on how, the sound works, and how horns work. And I discovered that horns and their flare shapes is to match the acoustic impedance between the sound source and free air. This basically just makes the transfer of sound much more efficient, and as such, sound much louder. And there's many different types of horns, so what kind of was I supposed to use? There was multi-cell, radial, Tractrix, constant directivity, manta ray, biradial, twin bezel. The main two I was looking at were conical and exponential horns. Now I quickly realized that conical horns just kind of suck, because they aren't even curved, and also exponential horns aren't the absolute best for amplifying lower frequencies like the human voice, which is what I was going for. So instead I went with a hyperbolic cosine horn. I did some calculations with these very simple equations. This then gave me this graph, which I think works and should show the total SPL output based on input frequency, meaning that it seems loudest at about 170 hertz. It also gives me an actual function for the shape of the horn, so using that I was able to make this 3D model of the horn. And then I 3D printed it. Just kind of like this. And then I glued all 8 parts of the horn together because it was too big to be printed in one job. And I glued it together into this prototype. And then I glued it outside in 6 degree weather, actually. And then we got this data right here. And now, the data showed that it was actually pretty loud at 170 hertz like I'd predicted. And it also showed that it was good by my standards. Now, if I were to redesign it, I'd probably make the throat, which is the back part, probably a bit less wide, and I would also probably make the horn flare, which is the very end, up here, more exponential instead of this hyperbolic cosine function horn shape thing, and that would make the impedance actually much greater and so louder overall. I also probably make it really big or something. Yeah. Now in conclusion, I think that John Horn right here, he taught me a lot of things. Like acoustics, how sound works, and physics. But most of all, that I don't like calculus.